All right, we are live.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Tom.
I'm Veronica.
They call
Welcome.
me Tom Crazy Eyes Merritt.
They call me Veronica. I look like crap in this lighting, Belmont.
You don't look
Where's
like crap
my ring
in the lighting.
light?
Your lighting's a little gray.
It's a little gray, a little gnarly.
That's fine. There you go. That'll fix it.
Fix this.
The little Stargate portal.
All right, this is not gonna work well. Where's... All right. What am I supposed to do? There's two USB ports. Do I plug them both in?
Probably one goes into the wall for power, and the other goes into a computer for something, like syncing.
For more power? For more power. All right, forget it. This is too complicated. This is too complicated. That's all right. We'll live. We'll live. It's an audio podcast anyway, for real. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Okay.
Doom 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 boom 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 boom
Ba-doom boom ba-doom boom boom ba-doom. That's nice. Are we going to get sued for that?
Nope, that's the Creative Commons licensed Good Day Internet theme.
All right. Okay. Anybody in the chat room? Chat room chatting? Nobody's chatting. Mm-hmm.
If there is no one in the chat room, are they chatting?
Do they even make a chat?
Oh, there's Tassie Dave.
Hi.
I see you spent all your time trying to make me look bad by adding quick burns, but there's not a lot of bury your swords.
There's a I did like 5 or 6 bury... Did you delete things?
There's 3.
Well, I intended to do more, okay? And then I got distracted by the fact that there were not enough quick burns. Then you got distracted by showing me up, so...
I
wasn't trying to show you up. I thought something had happened to you. I thought you were
it's just
in a ditch
it's only
somewhere.
been, first of all, we're coming right out of August. Second of all, it's only been a week since the last episode, so it just wasn't that much news. I was fine with that. I was like, yeah, it'll be a quick burns.
A quick burns.
But
all right, that's fair.
All kidding aside, I appreciate
Elizabeth.
Adding some more stuff. That's cool. Hey, Elizabeth.
I was concerned for your well-being because it's very rare that I come into the show
You're
notes
so selfless.
And you're not there, and also all the work isn't done.
Well, because I was watching the Cardinals beat the Dodgers for you.
What was the score?
5-4 in the end. It was tight.
Close.
Yeah, they made it tight at the end.
That's what she said.
I can't even go along with that. My God.
That's all right. You set me up. That was too good. Okay. Should we do a podcast?
I mean, why not? I'll start rolling
okay?
a backup audio recording.
Thank you.
Okay.
People noticed on the YouTube last week that like the audio was kind of unsynced. I just downloaded the video rather from the right from Riverside, so I don't know if that was a lag in like the recording or something about how they blended the two video tracks together.
Or maybe people should just stop being such perfectionists. You know, it's fine. You understood what we were saying.
I mean, most people I thought just listened to it in the background anyway.
Yeah.
Hi, Mark. Hi, John.
Hey, Mark.
Nice. We got a little crew.
Ooh, John's going to see the Cardinals at the Brewers on the 20th. Enjoy.
Sweet. I was just
I'm jealous.
I was watching a guy
and then
who...
Elizabeth says, "Is it just me or is the audio here really low?"
Oh no, is that real?
Elizabeth, are you mocking us because we were saying that, or can you really not hear us?
Because you're gonna give me a complex, is what's gonna happen.
It's not hard.
Well, okay, yeah. When I look at my
Mark
levels,
Mark says the audio is fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, cool.
Oh, last
Weird.
week it was. Oh, okay, gotcha. that makes sense.
Okay. Oh, weird. All right. Well, yeah. I mean,
Tessie
I don't know.
Dave's far away on the other side of the planet. That's why.
It does. Yeah. It's very lossy.
It makes sense. You'd have to turn it up farther to hear us.
To send the audio that far.
Dave!
I thought it was like Tassie.
Tassie probably is. Yeah.
Oh, it's also because Elizabeth is also Australian.
See? That explains it, right?
Makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that explains it. All right. Let's hop into the show. We'll do a sync because
Put
it's
down
fun.
your schnitties and your VB, Australians.
Oh my god, my stomach hurts. I've got really bad gas. I'm like hotboxing myself over here. Sorry. It's like super distracting. All right, I can get through the show.
All right,
I can
let's
get
do
through
it.
the show. All right, and 3. Clap anyway. Just clap. 3, 2, 1. Please clap.
Ray. I put my hands up and she came running over like, I'm going to be scared by your clap. I know.
Aww.
I'm like, I didn't even clap very loud, weirdo. You just want the free pets. All right.
She was like pre-upset.
Yeah. She's like, ooh,
Like
I need to get free butt scratches when you feel bad.
I look like an angelic angel. I'm glowing.
Well, that's not new.
Podcast listeners don't know what I'm talking about.
You don't know.
They can't see me. It's all that gas.
Always glowing. Oh, happy Star Trek.
Nice. Oh, sweet. Okay, I forgot to tell you, I bought that Octavia E. Butler. I'll save it for the show.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
In 3, 2. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Sword and Laser. I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm Tom Merritt.
Sword and Laser is a book club, but it's so much more. We bring you author interviews, news from the world of science fiction and fantasy, and awesome discussions from fans just like you.
And I'll mention it again at the end when I talk about the picks section, but we have a new way to get books. Up for the past 27 years, we've used Amazon referral links. But we have signed up to be a bookshop.org referrer as well. Bookshop
Nice.
works with independent bookstores, gives most of the profits to the independent bookstores. It really is just facilitating keeping indie bookstores in business and allowing indie bookstores to sell online without having to go through Amazon. So if you want to support independent bookstores anywhere, honestly, I mean, obviously it'd be cool if you supported one near you, but you can get the books anywhere. We will be putting more of those links at swordandlaser.com/picks. Right now, the only one up there that you can see is Terra Nullius' link. There's one for Amazon still up there, but there's also one that you can tell is specially formatted for bookshop.org. That's how I got my paper copy of Terra Nullius for the read this month.
Interesting. We'll actually have more on buying paper copies versus buying ebooks a little bit later in the episode. Nice. Right. Can you move it like a little bit to your right because it's kind of cut off?
I didn't think the audio.
I'm sorry, you're left. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Nice. There you go. Beautiful. Tom is showing the book right now. It's a lovely book cover. It's yellow with a black bottom, and I feel like I'm reading the captions on an image.
Tom holds up a book, half yellow, half black, with a red sun.
Tom, Elizabeth wants to know if bookshop.org is just U.S. or if it's international as well.
I think
Tom doesn't know, and he's going to look that up right now.
I think it's just U.S., but I don't want to disappoint. I don't want to disappoint Elizabeth in case.
Scott says, look like there's a link in the upper right that allows you to pick Great Britain
and
or Spain. Cool. That's
UK and Spain. Sorry, Elizabeth. No Australia yet. But I bet they're working on it.
Very cool. Yeah, that's always exciting. I'm always happy to be able to support independent bookstores and be able to continue to propagate Dead Tree editions throughout the world. Get those books out there into the hands of readers. Cool. What are you drinking, Tom?
Coke Zero Sugar, the new formulation that's taken the internet by storm. From John Scalzi to Scott Johnson, everyone's talking about the new formulation of Coke Zero Sugar. Not sponsored by Coke Zero Sugar.
Why is it so? Is it zero sugar? It's not Coke Zero Sugar.
They changed the formula, and they changed it from Coke Zero to Coke Zero Sugar to let you know they were getting the new formula. Then they changed the formula again, and all they did was change the cans to be all red instead of all black. They didn't change the name, though, and it tastes very similar to regular Coke now. Very similar.
Oh. So as I was kind of alluding to, it's very important to know what these cans look like, because I feel like just saying the name without any context could be very confusing, because it could either be Coke Zero Sugar, like
Coke Zero Sugar,
or it could be Coke Zero Sugar, Coke Zero Sugar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which would be no sugar. So
right.
it either sounds like it's
and it is no
more
sugar. Yeah.
It's no sugar.
This is zero sugar.
Zero sugar. Okay.
Yeah. There is zero sugar in the Coke. Instead, it has lots of chemicals that sweeten it instead. Sweet chemicals.
Sweet. I'm just
but everything's
water.
with chemical, honestly. So there you go.
I mean, water's just H2O.
Yeah.
That's a chemical.
Dihydrogen oxide. Is that what you're drinking?
Yeah. I had a beer earlier. I had a 4-point IPA tropical.
Ooh. How
which
festive.
I guess is like their summer thing. Yeah, it felt summery and nice. But now I'm on water. All right. Well, hello to all of our live listeners over on riverside.fm. What?
Scott Pentel just said, can't wait for hard Coke Zero Seltzer. I mean, you
wait,
laugh,
would that be
Scott.
hard Coke with no seltzer?
Hard Coke, zero seltzer.
Zero seltzer.
We're at the anti-seltzer crowd.
What was I talking about? Hello.
Riverside. You were saying hi to the Riverside people.
Yes. Every time we do an episode now, we are endeavoring to do a live stream over on riverside.fm at riverside.fm/studio/sword-laser. We'll link to it on Twitter and in the Discord if you're around to join us live. It's fun. You know, I enjoy having the chat in real time. That brings me back to our old live streaming days. Tom's like, I do that every day. No big deal. But for me, I don't get to do that very often. So it's nice to have that live element back into the show.
Good day, Internet. Oh, wait, that's the show where I do
Well, wrong show. Show.
Sorry,
Am I going to get, is this going to get pulled down from YouTube? Because
I will sue us, yes.
You'll sue us?
Yes.
Reap all of our own money. All right.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Fair. All right, let's jump right into the quick burns.
Indeed, Mark pointed out that the Leviathan Falls James S.A. Corey ARC advanced reader copies have been spotted in the wild, as seen on James S.A. Corey's Twitter feed. Yeah, assumed that if anybody had the ARC, it would be, of course, the James S.A. Corey boys themselves, and they do, and it looks great.
I don't get these anymore. I took myself off the list, so now I don't get things anymore. And it was a blessing and a curse. But, well, I'll read it in due time. Actually, I won't, because I'm not at all caught up on the series. This is all Tom news.
Look
this
at
is like
you complaining you don't even
Tom
have the ARC.
Stokes
I'm the
zone.
one who's like dying to read this book.
I just want to be recognized.
Not literally
okay?
dying.
I just want to feel like I belong.
Well, catch up. It's not
Like
that
I'm
hard.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
be
still
surprised.
listen to the audiobook over the screams of your child who won't sleep.
I did listen to podcasts last night. It was nice.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, that's exciting. So is this the last book?
This is the last book. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Leviathan
I'm sorry.
Wakes, Leviathan Falls.
I see. It's a nice bookends there.
Yep. Ooh, I hope they sell bookends.
The book is ending. Because
Like-
the book is ending.
A proto-molecule bookend. I will buy those.
Mark says there's also a novella coming. Is that the...
They always do the novellas.
There's been
Yep.
novellas,
Yeah. So there's another novella coming. That's right. Good point, Mark.
Cool. Tamahome says YouTuber Media Death Cult did another video with Alistair Reynolds about SF books that inspired him. Some more unusual picks. Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and radio show. That doesn't feel super
So
unusual.
far, not that crazy.
Yeah. Damon Knight, Far Out. I'm not familiar, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A.E. Van Vogt, Destination Universe. Makes sense. Samuel Delaney, Nova. Makes sense.
Solid.
James Blish, Cities in Flight. I'm not familiar, actually. Walter Miller, A Canticle for Leibowitz, which we read. What? Why are you laughing?
No one would know you're unfamiliar if you didn't point it out every time.
I'm allowed to point out my shortcomings.
Sure, no, but I'm allowed to laugh
human.
when you do it. That's all.
I'm not... You can't laugh. I can laugh. You can't laugh.
You were
at
saying
me.
Walter Miller, A Canticle for Leaving.
Tamahome points out that these are all
they are
pretty classic.
Well,
oldies.
and these are ones Alistair Reynolds is saying influenced him, right? So all
right, I'm going to read the rest. I'm not going to say whether or not I've read them.
Yeah.
Okay. Isaac Asimov, The End of Eternity.
Have you
James
ever read that?
Tiptree Jr., 10,000 Light Years from Home. Frank Herbert, Whipping Star. Arthur C. Clarke, The City and the Stars. And Cordwainer Smith, The Best of Cordwainer Smith.
Okay, that one is slightly unusual. Most of these are not that unusual. They, like the James Tiptree Jr. and the Frank Herbert, not the ones you think of, I don't think. Certainly Frank Herbert, everybody thinks of Dune. But Cordwainer Smith, Best of Cordwainer Smith. Nice, interesting choice.
Very cool. Yeah, another good episode, YouTube episode
Jan
to check out.
Pointed out the first trailer for Amazon's Wheel of Time series has been released. Have you watched it? Have you watched the trailer?
I did not yet. I haven't watched it. Was it good?
It's epic. Epic fantasy.
Am I going to get to episode 4 of the show and not be able to go any further?
No. Just inviting the hate. It looks great. Obviously, Amazon's got a budget, so no surprise there that it's looking good. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very, very good series, and it's always hard to tell from a trailer, but it looks fairly true to the source material. They always change stuff around because it's a different medium, and telling the story exactly the way it is in the book wouldn't work on television. It's always about how they make those choices, right? So I'm looking forward to trying it for sure.
Tazzy Dave says he ditched Wheel of Time around book 3, so I did great. I kicked butt. I feel really good about myself, is what I'm saying.
You should.
Yeah. I was going to ask. Sorry, I lost my train of thought thinking about how great I am. Is the series based on the first book, or is the series based on all of the books?
Series, that
would be really hard to do.
Is based on the books forward, not just the first one, but it starts with the first one, and they are making movies based on the prequel material that's weaved throughout the books and in some of the companion volume.
Okay. Got it.
I think I have that.
Jim says, Jim, our wonderful editor of the podcast, said, relevant to your interest, the companion score to the Dune art book just dropped over on Apple Music. This looks pretty cool. Like, I don't typically download things on Apple Music. I haven't checked to see if it's actually available on other platforms, but it's Hans Zimmer. So it's going to be pretty epic and badass.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be really good, like, background music to listen to.
I can't wait to hear the rest of the score because they seem to use the same bit of the score in every trailer.
Oh, interesting.
So I am definitely looking forward to hearing how it's weaved throughout. But Eileen was watching a new version of the trailer earlier today in the other room, and I could tell it was Dune because I heard that same that kind of wailing that goes on in there, and I'm like, it's good. I'm not criticizing it, but I'm like, I want to hear more. Give me more.
Do you have a favorite? Soundtrack that you like to listen to?
No, I don't. I have a lot of music from TV shows and movies, though. So not score stuff. I don't have like a score I like to put on, which I think is that's more what you were thinking, right?
Right.
Like but I will listen to songs that are featured in TV shows, especially like theme song, the opening song will get stuck in my head and I'll throw it on a playlist, but not so much the score.
I really liked, I'm trying to remember which album it was, but M83 did an album.
Oh, was that
a score for a movie?
Cloud Atlas?
It's not. It's and I.
They
can't,
did Cloud Atlas, but that's not the one you're thinking of.
Did they? Oh,
yeah. I'm pretty sure they did.
I think maybe they've done a few. I want to say.
I think they have.
This is going to drive me crazy.
The theme to What We Do in the Shadows is on my playlist.
Oh, that is like the best song of all time. I love it. I'm a huge fan. And that's like an old that song.
60s era song. Too.
Yeah. I can't believe that it's like I couldn't believe that it wasn't made for that show. Like
it seems
just
perfect
because it's so great.
It's almost like they wrote the show around the song.
Oh, it was for Oblivion. It was the soundtrack for Oblivion.
Okay.
Yeah, the Tom Cruise.
Nice.
Yeah, that soundtrack is really great. Okay. And, I wanted to read this one because I thought it was cool. Free Random, who is Calvi over in Discord, who might be in the chat, I'm not sure, linked to an article from npr.org about want to start reading sci-fi and fantasy. Here's a beginner's guide to the galaxy, which is, cute reference there. But I wanted to see, talk about some of these suggestions and see what you thought about them as for, first-timers. Because I was pretty surprised that they picked Goblin Emperor as one of, the books to get started. Because it feels it's a great book. We read it, I loved it, I thought it was great.
Yeah, they also picked This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Yeah, that was going to be, I feel like these are not the most accessible books for newbies in genre fiction.
My response
but I'm not
is
trying to say
with
people
peril.
Okay, yeah, I get it, and I feel like I'm also treading on thin ice here.
Well, because there's...
I'm not saying
first of all,
that people who are new... Let me just finish this one thought before I lose it.
You can't handle complex topics.
Yeah, I'm not saying that newbies to the genre can't
Yeah.
handle it. I'm just saying that if you're new to sci-fi fantasy, maybe picking something that's super kind of intense or different is not going to be the best place to start. Well, it's not. I don't think necessarily representative of what is representative of genre fiction these days.
This is the problem with a one-size-fits-all answer to anything. We know this from our days at CNET. If someone says, "What's the best phone for me?" It's like, well, what are you going to use it for? Who are you?
Yeah.
Because there's not one phone that's like, this is the best phone for every single person. Same goes with books. What kind of reader are you? Because I feel like this is from NPR, which, by the way, I interned for when, back in 1993. So, my tone here, don't read too much into it. But it's going to be a little snooty. It's going to be a little, pointed towards a reader of, high-level literature, is my guess. And so the people who put this together were like, okay, for people who read Booker Prize stuff, what is the sci-fi that might get them into sci-fi? And if that's the case, these are great suggestions. For people who are like, I think sci-fi is just, full of, dumb comic book plots, it's like, no, read Goblin Emperor. Read This Is How You Lose the Time War. This will convince you that genre fiction is wide-ranging and very literary. So in that respect, I think I get what they're doing here. Yeah.
They do say that The Goblin Emperor is one of their favorite comfort reads of all time, which still, I guess, maybe myself and this author have very different definitions of what those words mean.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying not to use the word pretentious. I really am.
Oh, all right, Tom. All right, I like it. I like when Tom gets into it.
I think there's some valid stuff in here, but I mean, come on, Goblin Emperor is not a comfort read. Give me a break.
Come on.
Maybe it is for that person. I shouldn't judge. Maybe they're like, no, this is perfect. Obviously, I'm not sure that most people would think that. Maybe I'm the pretentious one there. I don't know.
It's okay. It's all right.
I'm just a poor young farm boy. What do I know?
And then finally, good old Gristle McNerd over in Discord said Humble is doing an audiobook bundle again. Some big name authors and graphic audio does good work. They've got the full cast and the Foley and all the things. It does seem like a good collection. We've got some Peter Brett. We've got Brandon Sanderson. We've got Elizabeth Moon. A lot of really great stuff here. So if you're interested in picking up one of these fantastic bundles, head over to humblebundle.com. We'll have the link in the show notes.
I always love a good Humble Bundle. Oh, and Shamanad in the chat is saying, I love The Goblin Emperor. Totally counts as a comfort read for me. Hey, we love The Goblin Emperor. We're not saying we don't love The Goblin Emperor. I just, considering the death and
it's
threats
kind of intense.
And intensity.
If I remember correctly. Court intrigue.
Comfort would
stressful.
Not be.
It was a little stressful.
Yeah. It's more like the 3-course meal with bone marrow as an amuse-bouche.
Ooh.
Yeah, which delicious, not comfort food. Macaroni and cheese.
Tamahome asks, does it have cats? Does it have cats? I can't remember if it has cats.
I tend to think there was a cat or two in there, but I don't remember for sure.
I think you just maybe want cats. You want to see cats where there were no cats. Anywho, that wraps it up for the quick burns. Thank you to everyone who contributed stories to this week's episode. You can either do that over on goodreads.com/swordandlaser, look for the Goodreads thread, or over on the Quick Burns channel in our Discord. All right, well, now it is time for Barrier Sword, which is our feedback from the audience. Quick barrier swords this week. Quick. I tried to make a Quick Burns barrier sword joke. It didn't work. It didn't pan out for me. But this thread burns? From Christos. Barrier burns. Bear those burns, baby. How's your phobia ever affected your enjoyment of a story? From Christos. And he said, I recently saw The Suicide Squad and I loved it, but I hate rats so much. So when I was supposed to be rooting for the rat, I was hoping it would get squished.
Thankfully,
wah, wah.
My phobias do not
short swords
translate into novels too easily. So when my phobias are described in a novel, at worst I get a little like wiggly, like ooh, wouldn't like that. But the closest I can think to something like Christos is describing is when I was a kid, I was very afraid of bees and wasps, and so even pictures of bees on a book cover, I'd be like, not touching that book.
Did I ever tell you about the time when I was speaking at XOXO and I did a presentation, and on one of my slides I included a picture of a spider, not thinking that the spider was going to be like 50 feet high on the big screen in the presentation theater.
Oh man.
And basically like freaked out a lot of people, like totally unintentionally.
Right.
Like just didn't even think about, I was working on like my tiny little laptop screen, even that though, I should have been like trigger warning.
Sure.
But it didn't really occur to me until I started getting the tweets afterwards of being like
50-foot
totally
spike.
like,
but nobody left.
Messed up
nobody
my day.
Walked out, right?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That you noticed anyway, yeah.
It wasn't a presentation on spiders, so it went away pretty quickly. Yeah. I don't even remember why I put it in.
They're fine.
Yeah. Anywho, there's a lot of great answers here. Like Ruth, for example, says that she's not arachnophobic, but there are parts of Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky that made me feel distinctly itchy. Great book, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who doesn't like spiders. The sequel features octopuses as well. I'm having trouble thinking of anything for myself personally.
Because I'm pretty jaded towards even depictions of gore and violence. I don't like it. More visually though, more like TV, where I'm like, okay, I don't need this than books. Books I can sort of speed read through it. Like, okay, some bad stuff happens, got it. And my phobia is, like I said, like I don't like being in elevators and I don't like heights. That doesn't really translate well in a book to where I'm like, I can't read about this person being up high. Like that never happens. So I think I'm lucky.
Would you be able to watch that M. Night Shyamalan movie where they're trapped in the elevator?
Yeah. See, because if I'm not actually in the elevator, I don't mind seeing other people in there.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. I don't want to see them all, like, die in the elevator. That would be bad. But usually they do get out. So then that's, like, catharsis of, like, see?
Yeah.
Everything was fine.
I don't like things happening to kids in books.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Poppy War scene, like with the war and the battle in the village, like really messed me up for like a long time.
You
or
heard
dogs.
A dog. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things about humanity that we are more protective of dogs because they are more helpless.
And they're innocent. Maybe that's it. Like things happening to innocents, kids, babies, dogs, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, probably doesn't sit well with most people. But I've noticed that's
violence.
I tend to be sensitive about. It's not a phobia.
It's kind of a different category.
I don't like people touching my belly button. I get really freaked out about belly buttons.
I'm really sorry about that.
But I haven't really experienced much belly button horror. That's probably a genre somewhere.
Just remember,
Rule 34.
fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death. You must face your fears. You must let them pass over you and through you.
So you just memorized that whole bit, huh?
I did. I used to have it all memorized. It's kind of slipping away.
I used to.
My old age.
Hug me till you drug me, honey. Kiss me till I'm in a coma. Hug me, honey, snuggly bunny. Love's as good as Soma.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Our next thread. Do you want to kick this one off?
Calvi.
You were talking about used books.
Calvi is the star. Said, I am sure it will come down to a preference, but when the local libraries don't have a book and you need to get it, do you go with what is cheapest or go with what is easier? I am guessing it probably depends how frugal you are, a used bookstore, local or online, or ebook. Anyway, I seem to struggle if I should get the book for my Kindle or get the used book. Silly, I know. Just curious what options most people take. I honestly have a stack of used books that I need to drop off at my used bookstore if they will take them, but thinking of adding a few more when for a few dollars more I could get the ebook with less wear and tear on the earth. But cheap. Arg. And then John Taloni points out the author gets a cut of the ebook, but not of the used book sales. Listen, folks, do your best. It's not just about frugality. Sometimes it's about just not having money. In which case, I would say do whatever you can do. If you can afford the used book but not the ebook, go for the used book and don't feel bad about it. As an author myself, and I know not all authors feel this way, but I know lots do, we'd rather you read the book than not. And don't get too caught up in like, well, what's the best way to support? If it becomes a stress. If it's not a stress, then great. Yes, buy the new book so that we get a bigger cut. But if it's starting to become a problem where you're like agonizing, just do whatever works for you. Don't stress that much about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I used to stress about that a lot in the past, mostly because I felt bad. I felt weird about buying Kindle books all the time. And then I just realized like that's the way I'm going to be able to read. Like having the Kindle with me, like I used to travel a ton. It just made more sense to have the Kindle. I read at night, like before I fall asleep. I don't want to have the lights on. So having the Kindle being backlit was a really big help for me. And yeah, I just don't have the space for physical copies of books anymore. I literally had to get rid of hundreds of books recently just because I don't have the room. And so it just made more sense for me on so many different levels. And it is a benefit, they don't get as much of a cut probably from the Kindle as the physical book. I don't know. Do you know? Is there a difference or does it not matter?
That doesn't really matter. It really varies.
Got it.
It depends on how their deal is constructed. It depends on how the publisher gets the deal with Amazon. That varies all over the place, which is why I say you could drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what's the best way. Because, you start running down rabbit holes of like, but used books have to be moved around in trucks, which burn gas, and but ebooks are from a data center, and the data centers use power, and it's like that's why I say at a certain point, like yes, try to do the option you think is best, but if it's starting to stress you out, I think it's better to read than not.
I agree. Yeah, the arithmetic is going to really stress you out.
Yeah. Elizabeth says, ultimately, if you're reading, you're winning. I like that.
Winning. Dr. Joe Sorcero says, in case you missed it, some historical background on the term Terra Nullius as it pertains to Australia. And this is from AustralianTogether.org, AustraliansTogether.org, rather. Interesting link. I won't go through all of it. But it's about the indigenous dispossession in Australia, which has been The momentous Mabo case finally acknowledged the history of indigenous dispossession in Australia, abolished the legal fiction of Terra Nullius, and altered the foundation of Australian land law. So Terra Nullius is the Latin term meaning land belonging to no one. British colonization and subsequent Australian land laws were established on the claim that Australia was terra nullius, justifying acquisition by British occupation without treaty or payment. This effectively denied Indigenous peoples prior occupation of and connection to the land. So tons more here on this, obviously pertaining, to the theme of the book that we are currently reading. And yeah, Tom, I think before we get into the book kickoff, it seems like there's a lot of like interesting discussion about like where the sci-fi comes in on this story. And I guess that's something that is interesting. We don't want to spoil that. I don't know yet.
Well, you said before we get into the book kickoff, and that's like squarely what the book kickoff is about. So,
so let's hop into the book kickoff.
Let's stick with Terra Nullius for a minute, because I was going to bring this up as part of the book kickoff as well, but it's independent. It's true, independent of the book. This is a great article on AustraliansTogether.org. This is explained by Claire G. Coleman in the book at the end. There's a section of there's acknowledgments, but there's before the acknowledgments. I'm trying to find what she calls it. There's an author's note that goes briefly into what Australians Together talks about at greater length, and it was a fairly common practice for Europeans invading other territories to declare the land empty, even though it had occupants, because the occupants were quote-unquote savages, or the occupants there weren't many of them, they're barely there, or the occupants were uncivilized, or all of other kinds of sort of blandishments that justified, so we get to take the land. And Australia is one of the most famous in that respect with Terra Nullius as a doctrine that was then apologized for and overturned by the Australian government, which, as Claire G. Coleman says in her author's note, is not the end of the matter, certainly, but an important step toward that, and informs the title of the book and why the title of the book is important in that respect of someone coming into your land and not respecting that you're there. I think we probably should just move into the kickoff discussion at this point, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Couple of things that occurred to me that are non-spoilery that I think are worth talking about when thinking about this story, which is very much around the idea of Australia being colonized, right? And one of them is Australia was not, and certainly I don't think anyone thinks this, but Australia was not the only or the first land to be invaded and colonized. And we forget, a lot of times we think, yes, well, so of course you mean North America and you mean South America and you mean Hawaii maybe or some other islands. No, you also Europe was invaded and conquered by the Romans. The Romans weren't from Europe. They were from Southern Europe. They came in and drove people off their land. Some they integrated into their society, and some they cast out. The Huns moved across the steppes into Europe. England was invaded by the Normans. This is a constant practice of humanity, and what is unique about the era in which we live is it's one of the first in which we have started to deal with the fallout of that and say, hey, maybe that's not a good idea. So keep that in mind when reading this book of like, how would you feel, etc. And the other thing is there's some things that Claire G. Coleman puts in here about Europe, why Europe was invading, because they warred with each other. There's a theory that small European countries warring with each other basically sharpened their skills, so they had the advantage when they invaded other societies that were less dense and could not resist as easily because they just didn't have as much practice at war. There's something to that, but Europe isn't the only one. So keep in mind that China, actually, mainland China, was multiple warring factions sharpening up their sticks. The difference was China then turned inward, whereas Europe turned outward for whatever reason. That's just something that occurred to me while I was reading this as well. And again, that's something that will be interesting to think about as you go through this story. And I wish I could explain more why, because you might think I mean one thing, but maybe I don't. This is a really hard book to kick off, though, because of the fact that, as everyone in Discord assured me, this is a science fiction book. And now I can say with certainty, yes, this is a science fiction book. Stick with it. And it's really all you should say. It's honestly, now that I get it, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't tell you any more than that. Enjoy the book. Lean into it. Make your best guess why you might think this is science fiction or not as you go along. And all will become clear. I cannot wait for our spoilery discussion, because the people who have read the book are in Goodreads now with divided opinions about whether they like that this is a science fiction book or not. And we'll talk about that.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay. I'm only about maybe like 12% through, so I have a long way to go, but I feel very titillated right now.
Yeah. This is, if nothing else, and I honestly think there's a lot more else, but if nothing else, it's a very thought-provoking book. And I think it's thought-provoking and a lot of other things as well.
Amazing. All right. Well, keep diving into it, folks. I think that about wraps up our episode. Oh, what was I saying I should save for the show earlier? Oh, I bought the Octavia E. Butler shirt.
Oh, yeah.
From the Metal Science Fiction Authors page from a few episodes back. I love it. It's great. It's really fun. So you bought your bookends. I bought my Octavia E. Butler.
Nice.
Totally metal.
You know what? That
shirt.
Reminds me. I should go back. I was thinking about buying one of those shirts. Maybe I will.
Yeah, they're really good quality, too. They're very
good.
soft.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, now
I'm considering going back and buying another one, too, because I bought a woman's large, and it's comfortable, but I kind of want, like, a little... They're, like, those really tight shirts, and so I want something a little more comfy, so I'm like, which one should I get next?
Well, Christmas is coming.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, thank you so much to everyone who listened to the show and contributes and helps fund us. We're entirely funded by our friends at Patreon. Gosh, I'm really, really mucking this one up. Our show is currently entirely funded by you, our patrons. Thank you so much to all the folks who back our show. If you want to help support us, you can head over to patreon.com/swordandlaser.
And as I mentioned earlier, you can also support the show by buying books through our links, some of which go to bookshop.org. Find links to the books we talk about and some of our favorites at swordandlaser.com/picks.
Send us an email, feedback@swordandlaser.com. We are over on Instagram and Twitter @swordandlaser, and you can join in on all the discussions at goodreads.com/swordandlaser, or join in on our Discord. There should be a link to it on the website as well. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, chat room.
I am not, Mark. Are we still streaming?
We're still streaming, yeah.
Mark, it's not a Star Wars shirt. It says Star Trek.
That's appalling. That is appalling. Appalling mashup.
I wore this to The Force Awakens on opening night.
Nice. Gotcha. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.